Okay, morning everybody. Jason, Hollis Farms. I'm trying to get y'all set up right there. I actually did this video this morning and something happened with my camera. But anyway, didn't have any of the footage. And anyway, about all I've done today is talk about this part where I'm pissed off. And I did a little bit of disking on some fire lanes, so y'all hadn't missed much. But anyway, yeah, and I said this morning I was spitting on camera. That's probably not the best, but that's me. That's what I do. So I'm gonna try to do this again. I usually do it one time, and that's the best version. I have to think too much. But anyway, there has been some stuff posted, and I don't do a lot of Facebook, Instagram stuff, a bunch of that. I don't do a lot of that, but I do keep up with a few folks, and I like Instagram with pictures, but I watch quite a bit of YouTube. But anyway, there has been a couple of things posted that's kind of got me just a little pissed off. This particular one, it was a picture that was posted, and it had 3 corn sacks on the side of the highway, and they was making a post about the trash or the corn sacks, but their poke was about the place I saw it. The poke was about feeding. It wasn't necessarily about the trash. I know what they was doing, and I'm getting I've heard it from this, and I'm not gonna mention any names on the certain things I'm pissed off about, but there's no reason for, everybody's got their opinion, so I'm fixing to give mine. I don't like the way they're going about poking at the feeding issue, whether it be the state of Mississippi, state of Alabama, or any state. If it's legal, now I don't agree with the trash, don't get me wrong, but I don't see anybody posting anything about the Budweiser box on the side of the road or the Hardee's biscuit bag or whatever. They posting it about the corn, and they poking it about the feeding. And I know we didn't grow up feeding. I knew some people that fed and kind of illegally or whatever, but we never did. When it came about being legal, it was several years before we did, and even several years after that before we got serious, because I was in the deer business. And when I've got back out of there, I really have started applying some of the stuff I learned in the deer business to our free range stuff that I'm working on so hard. I guess there's a couple of different ways of feeding. You can have your corn feeders going, to see your deer. You can have troughs to feed your deer. You can actually, I'm feed year round trying to help the whole deer herd or the size of the rack. I know this protein works, and in the pine plantations that we hunt and own, they need a little more than just them pine cones. And I always talk about raising them on pine cones, but supplemental feeding is something that I like to do. Yeah, I keep corn feeders going year round. They hold deer. I keep feeding troughs to hold deer. Corn mostly through the winter months. Corn keeps, I'm not going to say healthy, it keeps fat on them and gets them through the rut and all. But as spring, I'm trying to go through this like I did it this morning. I was riding down the road and I was able to think better. But I'll feed a lot through this cold February months, and then I'll back off for turkey season, and because I like to let the Mother Nature part of the briars and the green up and all that go on before I start feeding, because I want to get the value out of all that before I start feeding. I'll be right back. Oh, cut off camera. All right, that was Cody. I try to get this stuff done before I get him. But anyway, I like to let the Mother Nature, the green up of all the work we do with the burning and all that, take place. And then somewhere around, you know, that 1st of May or so, when all that stuff's gotten a little tougher, June, July especially, gotten tougher and all, I like to start feeding them protein, because I know it helps, and I know it can help that buck get all his potential and get and the mamas feeding babies and all. It just keeps the whole herd healthier, and I just don't pour it to them. I like to call it a true supplemental. The more I get our pine plantations thinned down and burned and more natural vegetation there, the less I have to do on that. But my biggest issue, regardless of how I do it, you do it, whoever does it, if it's legal, why are we hammering on it so bad? And I'm gonna go off on another subject that's really comes back to this. Most anybody you hear talking about this, I'll say most anybody, a lot of them hunt public land. I don't have not one issue with hunting public land. I think it's great. I've told Mitt before, I said, man, wouldn't it be a lot simpler if we didn't own this property and didn't have to do nothing but scout and get in the boat or travel and hunt. We'd probably kill bigger deer if we traveled and hunted public land. But we like to do this management part of it, and we're blessed to have what we got, and we do what we can with it. Mitt doesn't do any feeding. He's got a different kind of ground than y'all seen it when I went over there hunting with him some. He's got more farm type ground where he can plant beans and corn. Where we are with our pine plantations, I don't have enough open ground to do that. Where our places are, we got a lot of fields, but they're so small, the beans and stuff just wouldn't make it. They'd browse them down. But anyway, I could make those type of fields, but I don't want to. I want to keep our pines like they are, and I feed in a trough. So, but back to that, the YouTube especially is big on public hunting. There's some big channels, the hunting public. I like hunting the public. I watch them all the time. I have never heard them say anything about feeding. Really never. I don't guess I've ever heard them say anything about private versus public. I've heard just about everybody that hunts public land and talks about it on YouTube. Private's right over there, the deer's over on private. Me and Cody watch we've got all the Whitetail Adrenaline guys DVDs, and I love watching them. They get after it, and I hear them all the time talking about, well, he's on private, you know, where they're working to kill him on public, whatever. They don't hunt any public ground. They made that decision after the first couple of years of their DVDs. But anyway, like watching them. I don't guess I've ever heard them say anything about feeding. Catman Outdoors, I like watching him. But all these guys, you always hear them generally saying something about the private. So, but this particular one I'm talking about, and I'm not going to say anything. I've heard him, he does a lot of turkey hunting stuff. I've heard him say it a time or two, mention something about a Mississippi corn feeder going off. And then I also, in the same video, heard him say, well, the turkeys are roosted on public. We got to get in between them and this food plot on private before they get there. So why are you talking about what a guy does, as long as it's legal? Why are we talking about a food plot? Maybe the turkey wouldn't be there if the guy didn't have a good food plot or some good habitat on his place for nesting. May not be any turkeys on the public. I mean, we gotta get to where everybody's on the same playing field, or not playing field, same I don't know the right word. It'll come to me in a minute. Just quit arguing whether you're public, private, feeding or not, as long as it's legal. You know, the saddle hunting got big a few years ago, and I like hunting out of a saddle. I like hunting out of a lock-on. I like hunting out of a shooting house. But it's like you get a group over here that's saddle hunting, they think that's the only way to go. And boy, if you hunt out of a shooting house, you ain't hunting. Or if you get over here and you're hunting out of a hang-on stand, you ain't hunting right. If you ain't hunting on the ground, if you're hunting with a bow, or you're hunting with a crossbow, or you're hunting with a rifle, you ain't doing it the right way. I don't get it. The way this country's getting these days, so sideways, if everybody don't get together on this, we're gonna lose some stuff. I guarantee you they're working on it every day trying to cut this stuff out. I've even thought about this. These people that go to shooting ranges, and there's bow shooting ranges and the gun shooting ranges. There's a lot of people that do archery and the guns that don't even hunt. And we need them people on our side too, because they're more like us. If they shooting a gun, they want that right to bear arms, and we need to keep everybody on our same on our side, where I guess that's the right way to put it. Everybody needs to get on the same side. And yeah, I like, y'all know me and Brian hunt out of Lone Wolf Custom stuff, and I like it, and I like listening to Andre and Cody DeQuisto, and I don't think Mr. Andre does it a lot anymore, but I know Cody does it some. Cody doesn't care whether he's on public or private. He just wants to go where a big deer is. And I've heard them say it, and they started, Lone Wolf Custom Gear started a Facebook page called Mobile Hunters United. And I heard Andre say on a podcast, they got a new podcast they do, I say new, I think it's every Wednesday, but I heard him say the other day at the end of one of the podcasts, said, look guys, we started this Mobile Hunters United Facebook page for people to bounce ideas back and forth, and maybe show you picture your big deer you killed or something. Not to bash this guy because he's on a saddle and this one's in a hang on, or I don't even know if nothing would be said if a guy was hunting out of an Old Man Climber, a Summit, Millennium Lock On, or Lone Wolf Custom Lock On, or a Phantom saddle from Tethered. It's all mobile. So everybody just needs to get together and quit arguing about this and trying to, poke at a way the guy does it. If it's legal, it's not wrong. It may not be the way you like to do it, but I don't like sitting in shooting houses a lot. Cody don't. But the way my back and all was this year, and still is, I couldn't climb. I climbed a few times and found out quick. I told Cody, because I know how much he likes bow hunting. Cody probably would have killed a deer with his bow this year if it wouldn't have been for me like I am. But he understood that I couldn't climb. So we had a ball hunting in them shooting houses and had one of the best years we've ever had. And I just don't get it. One thing that I really got to watching on Instagram was, I think it's Mississippi Whitetails or something like this. There are some studs being killed. There's some as just about as good a deer killed in Mississippi this year as it is in any part of the country. And I think a lot of it, and I have to say, I've never hardly used cameras all my life. This year I've dabbled in it, but this year I was pretty serious with it. And they were the cause of just about every deer that me and Cody killed. For sure knew they was there. And I know due to feeding and cameras, there is a lot of deer that are getting birthdays because you get a picture of a 10-point that you just normally hammer and be proud to have him on the wall. But all of a sudden, you get a picture of this 10-point and you end up letting the little one go, probably a year or two younger, and hunt and hunt and hunt. And there's people that's burning tags because they didn't get that one. They stayed after them. Used to, and I know me for sure. I was telling Brian the other day, if I really used to use cameras, I probably got about 40 or 50 deer mounted that I wouldn't have shot because I'd have knew what was there and I'd have hunted hard to kill them. Not that there was anything wrong with it, but that's back to the feeding part. This is why people are fooling with them all summer. Whether they're feeding corn or what, it's legal. Some feeding protein, whatever, and they're hanging cameras on the feed. Not that you can't get a picture of them on a scrape or whatever, but if you're feeding, you can, and you know it's legal to hunt over it. When they first started in Mississippi, you couldn't be within sight of it, and then it had to be 100 yards, and then now you can be right over the top of it. It's legal, whatever. I'm not crazy about it. Yes, I've done it. Y'all have watched me do it, and I might do it again. It's legal. But my point is, I think the deer herd, not gonna speak for the turkeys. It ain't hurting them. You can hold turkeys with corn, yeah. People been doing it for years, putting out scratch feed, millet, whatever. That's been going on. I don't want to shoot a turkey over a corn feeder. I just don't like that. I'm not even sure the laws during turkey season on feeding, but anyway, I don't fool with it during turkey season. I like to call a turkey and all that and everything. But anyway, as back to the deer, I mean, people's just getting pictures of big old deer, and then they're sitting on them, and then they're getting a inventory of what's around, and they're thinking, man, I can hunt this deer and then this one for next year and all that, and people's getting together, and you know, neighbors getting together. I know neighbors calling, they say, man, I got a picture of this, I don't think he's old, let's let him walk. And they do that, and before you know it, like Mississippi is now, there is some studs walking around. And there's several deer that I got on video this year. Had I been surprised and not known they was there, I'd have dropped a hammer on them. Even though my favorite way to hunt is to go hunting and be surprised. Ain't nothing like it. But in order to do what we're gonna do down there, I need some intel to where I don't drop the hammer on them, because some of them deer I let go, boy, this year, whoo-wee. Sometimes I think, man, but, you know, I think they're going to be better next year. And then it also gives me inventory on old deer that are management deer, whatever you want to call it, like some of me and Cody killed. I'd get pictures of them, and then I'd go hunt them and want to see them to make my last decision whether we need to shoot it or not. So, and that's all due to feed. I think if you know, there's not a right or wrong way as long as you're doing it by the law. Yeah, some people can do it more than others. But if you're hunting public and complaining about a guy that does something legally on his private ground, that's not right. And I was planning on hunting on the river more this year. I just couldn't with my back. I mean, what could I say if I went? It wouldn't bother me one bit if I went and got on a piece of public and I was close to the line or whatever, and I heard a feeder go off. I mean, what are you supposed to do? It's legal. So I think people need to back up on that. Just because you can't do it on a piece of public ground, I mean, I think you ought to feel kind of blessed that there's that much public ground out there to hunt, and that the joining property being a super piece of private is doing what they're doing. And if one slips over there, which there's plenty of them that get on that public, you know, I think you ought to be blessed and feel good that that guy's doing that. Maybe he's feeding protein and put 10 more inches on that deer that year, feeding protein. He went from a 140 to a 150 or whatever, and I know for a fact you can go 10 to 20 inches on protein, because I've done played with that, and I know that's a fact. So yeah, I mean, if I was hunting on a piece of public, I would be looking for the best neighbor I could find, and you know, that's legal to do it. I don't know. I just don't like the argument of, you know, if there's, I guess I would feel better about it if I heard it from a guy on private, that owned a bunch of property on private and didn't agree with feeding. But if it's still legal, he ain't much he can say. But a guy on public, really, I don't think should say nothing, because that ground doesn't have to be there for him to hunt to start with. And I mean, getting up and down this Tombigbee River, there's so much ground. And there again, I've told people this before, if you didn't own property and complained about a place to hunt, there's lots and lots of public to hunt for nothing. But anyway, I'm gonna get off of that today, and appreciate y'all watching. Out of here. All right, I have got to do today's Bible verse. Focus, camera. There it goes. Still on the word darkness. Isaiah chapter 58. What are we on? Verse 10. And if you give yourself to the hungry and satisfy the desire of the afflicted, then your light will rise in darkness and your gloom will become like midday. Out of here.